My wife cheated on me. I tried to get revenge on her, but accidentally ended up killing his male friend. Now, I'm about to risk spending 20 years of my life in prison. One Sunday night, some months ago, I found out my wife had been cheating on me for years. And the worst part? I wasn't even looking for it. I had just come back from picking up takeout for her birthday dinner. I had gone out of my way to get her favorite pan-seared salmon with roasted potatoes and a fancy chocolate tart from that little French bakery downtown. She was all smiles when I got home. I remember how she laughed as she unwrapped the new iPhone I got her. A soft, surprised gasp followed by a bright grin. "Babe, you got me the Pro Max? Are you serious?" she squealed, pulling me into a hug that felt real. We ate, we talked. She was happy. Or at least, she acted like it. After dinner, I offered to help her set up the new phone. Just the usual syncing and login steps. She handed it to me, not thinking twice. And why would she? I've never been the kind of guy to snoop. Bailey, my wife of 6 years, was the kind of woman people noticed in a room. Confident, sharp, beautiful in a quiet, commanding way. She wasn't always like that. When we met, she was bookish, a little reserved. We were in our mid-20s. She had just finished nursing school, and I was grinding through my early years as a junior engineer. We fell in love like most people do, slowly, then suddenly. We talked about everything, our careers, the fact that we didn't want kids, our dreams of traveling the world once we saved enough. Over the years, life settled in. I worked the early morning shift at my firm, 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. She worked nights at the hospital. Often from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. we passed like ships in the night. But weekends were our sacred space. So when I heard her phone buzz, repeatedly, as she stepped into the shower, I didn't think much of it. I sat on the edge of the bed, still helping the new phone pull down her iCloud data. The texts came in like a waterfall. Then one popped up that froze everything around me. "Vanessa, I pulled a muscle last time. Tomorrow it's your turn to get on top." At first, I blinked, thinking I had misread. Vanessa. I knew that name. She was Bailey's gym friend. I had never met her in person, but I had heard about her dozens of times. The one she went on those girls' trips with. The one she met during Zumba classes after I stopped going to the gym with her. I stared at the screen. My throat dried up. My first reaction wasn't rage, it was confusion. Bailey was straight. At least, I had always believed that. We talked about sexuality, even joked about it. But this text. It was unmistakably suggestive. My heart began to pound. I felt my hands go cold. I opened the message thread and saw months worth of flirtation, touchy jokes, references to things I couldn't make sense of, and lots of innuendo. There was even a picture Bailey had sent. Her in a sports bra and leggings, posing in what was definitely not a yoga stretch. I was still staring when I heard the shower turn off. Panic set in. I closed the messages and set the phone down quickly. Just as the bathroom door opened and Bailey stepped out wrapped in a towel, humming a tune. I forced a smile. "Hey, everything's set up on the new phone," I said, handing it to her. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Thank you, babe," she said, giving me a kiss on the cheek. "You're the best." That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on my chest like a boulder. Was I overthinking this? Was there a rational explanation? Maybe it was an inside joke. Maybe they were joking about yoga poses. But that emoji. That one damn emoji. I thought about our marriage. It wasn't perfect, but it was steady. We didn't argue. We respected each other's space. Our intimacy was consistent, even if predictable, usually on weekends. Sometimes more if we weren't exhausted. I cleaned. I cooked. She worked hard. We had a rhythm. I truly thought we were happy. The next morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. like usual and got dressed for work, but I didn't go in. I texted my manager that I needed the day off due to a family issue. Then sat in my car parked a block away from our home, engine off, waiting. Bailey left the house at exactly 7:45 a.m. in her gray yoga set and a water bottle tucked under her arm. She looked normal. Like it was just another day at the gym. I followed from a distance, careful not to get too close. She drove 15 minutes across town to a quiet residential neighborhood I'd never been to before. Then she pulled into the driveway of a modest one-story house. Parked in front was a lime green 1967 Mustang, a car too loud and flashy to miss. My heart sank the moment the door opened. A man appeared, tall, heavily built, rugged beard, tanned arms. He looked like he walked out of a lumberjack calendar. Bailey walked up to him without hesitation and wrapped her arms around his neck. They embraced like lovers. Familiar. Intimate. She walked inside, and the door closed behind her. I sat frozen. I couldn't breathe. The world outside the windshield blurred as my eyes welled up. My mind tried to find a loophole. Maybe she was helping a friend. Maybe he was just a personal trainer. But deep down, I knew. I waited for hours. Around noon, the front door opened again. Bailey stepped out, her hair slightly disheveled and her yoga pants wrinkled. She looked flushed, glowing even. The man walked her to the car. Another hug. Then she drove away. I wrote down the address. When she got home, she was completely composed. I watched her smile at herself in the mirror as she brushed her hair before getting ready for work. Yoga class was a killer, she muttered, stretching her arms. Zumba nearly destroyed my legs. I swallowed bile. You're really dedicated, I said softly. She winked at me. Gotta keep this body tight for you. She kissed my cheek again and headed out to her night shift. That night, I sat on the couch in the dark, phone in hand, still replaying the hug, the house, the lie. I couldn't believe how well she could look me in the eyes and pretend. For the rest of the week, I did the same thing. Called off work, parked down the street, followed her. Each day, she went to the same house. Each day, he greeted her with the same warmth. Each day, she came out looking more content than when she left. By Friday, I stopped questioning what I saw. The betrayal had cemented itself. This wasn't a fling. This was a second life. That was enough evidence for me, so I decided to leave her. I contacted a divorce lawyer and explained the situation. He told me that because I make more money than her and that I have no actual proof of infidelity, at best the process will end with her taking half of all my assets. I was pissed, so I came up with a plan: transfer all my assets to my brother, sabotage her birth control, catch her in the act, and take recordings, and then kick her ass out. I spent the next month slowly transferring all my assets to my brother. My name was on the deed to the house, so I transferred it him. I emptied my personal bank account and wired it to him. I own both cars, so now they were his. After her last period a few weeks ago, I swapped her birth control pills with similar looking pills. I also haven't made love with her since then as well. That all led to tonight. The last part of my plan was to catch her in the act. I couldn't access her phone or iPad since they were password protected. So I bought 3 small cameras off Amazon and planned on installing them on the outside of the windows of the dude's house. I drove to his house around 8 p.m. I dressed in black pants, black gloves and a black hoodie. I brought a backpack with the cameras and a crowbar. I didn't see the Mustang in the driveway, so I figured he wasn't home. I snuck to the back of the house looking for the bedroom window. I found it but noticed the window was slightly open. I looked inside and didn't see anything, so I decided to plant the cameras inside the house instead. I opened the window with the crowbar and let myself inside the room. I took off my backpack, took out the cameras and placed the crowbar on the floor. I planted the first camera in a potted plant he had in the corner of the room. The second camera was placed in the closet, with the door slightly opened enough for view. I couldn't decide what to do with the last camera though. There wasn't any good areas to place it. Eventually I decided to place it behind the TV overlooking the bed. Once I placed it, I hear the door open behind me and hear the words, "What the hell?" He lunged at me and pinned me to the ground. He was holding onto one of my arms while I used the other to push him off me. He yelled, "You chose the wrong house to steal from, dipshit." To get off me, but he proceeded to punch me instead. I was reaching out my free hand looking for anything to use and felt the crowbar, so I grab it and swing. I got him directly on the chin and see him fall down. As he fell, his head ended up at the corner of his bed and I heard a cracking sound. In an instant, the ground was soaked in red, and a lifeless form lay still. I was terrified. I tried checking for a pulse but didn't feel anything. I quickly grabbed my backpack and the crowbar and got the hell out of there. I then went to the woods 10 minutes away and buried my clothes in the crowbar. I'm now home trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't mean to do that, wondering if I should call the cops. Update. It's been a crazy day. So much has happened since last night. Last night, after I got home, I stayed in bed thinking about what had just happened. The image of him lying on the floor motionless made me nauseous. But admittedly it also made me a bit happy knowing that my wife's cheating partner was gone. I had a small bruise on my face from where he punched me. I put a bandage over it for now and went back to bed. Eventually my wife came home from work around 3:35 a.m. She walked into the room and saw I was awake, so she greeted me. I asked about her day and we chatted a bit. She saw my bandage and asked what happened. I made up a story about tripping when I got home. She continued to chat about her day. I wasn't really paying attention. She threw her phone on the bed and went to brush her teeth before sleeping. Her phone started ringing. When I looked at who was calling, my eyes almost popped out of my skull. Vanessa was calling. My wife picked up the phone and it sounded like a hysterical woman was shouting at my wife. I couldn't make out exactly what was said, but all the color left my wife's face. The phone call ended and she, in a very panicked tone, told me to drive her to Vanessa's house. I was speechless at first. What does she mean, Vanessa's house? I thought Vanessa was a dude. I thought he was dead. What the hell is happening here? I asked, Vanessa's house? Did something happen? She called and I couldn't make everything out, but she said something has happened to Jordan and she called an ambulance. We need to go over right away, she said as she was getting ready quickly. I thought for a moment and asked, who's Jordan? She's Vanessa's husband. Once that left her lips, my heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. Vanessa is real? She had a husband? Was that the dude I accidentally killed? But if it was, why was she going to her house instead of the gym? My mind was racing. Nevertheless, I composed myself and we started to drive over to her house. My wife gave me directions and we continued to talk on the way. What is happening with Vanessa? I asked. When we both got off tonight, she went home and was looking around for Jordan. When she walked into the bedroom, she found him lying on the floor. Something she said caught my attention. What do you mean when we both got off tonight? I mean when we both got off our shift tonight. She works at the hospital with me. Wait, since when? I couldn't hold back my confusion. We've been working together for the past 2 years. I got her a job as a nurse at my hospital after she was fired from her previous hospital. I told you all this before. Edit. I should mention that ever since they started going to the gym together, she has not stopped talking about Vanessa. She mentions her all the time and after a while I just started tuning it out. But apparently she was a nurse at another hospital but lost her job some years back and Bailey referred her to her hospital. They worked the same shift together. I don't remember her mentioning that at all, but it's possible she did at some point. So I collected my thoughts and asked, who's Jordan again? Jordan is Vanessa's husband. He's a personal trainer at the gym. I wanted to pry some more information without being suspicious, so I thought of what to ask next. Is he your personal trainer? Yeah, I told you before. When the gym raised their rates, Jordan offered to be my personal trainer. He does yoga and Zumba classes for me and Vanessa together in the mornings. Holy shit. What did I just do? He was her personal trainer? For how long? I felt like throwing up. My insides were in knots. I started sweating profusely. When I looked over at Bailey, she was also sweating a lot. She couldn't stop worrying over what Vanessa said. Eventually, we finally arrived at that house. There were no cops or ambulance yet, but there was a lime green '67 Mustang parked in the driveway again. Bailey ran inside immediately while I slowly walked in. It felt surreal walking into the house. I heard crying in the rear of the house and walked towards it. It led to the master bedroom of the house. There I saw Bailey holding a crying woman while also crying herself. She had dark hair, was short, 5'3" and was also fit like Bailey. This was the first time I'd seen her. On the floor beside them was the man from earlier lying motionless. The lights were on this time, so I had a clearer image of the scene. His head was injured. His eyes were rolled to the back of his head. Bailey and Vanessa were bawling their eyes out. Vanessa then spoke through the tears. When I got home from work, I walked into the bedroom and saw him lying there. I checked his pulse and I didn't feel anything, so I called the police. I tried to perform CPR but there's no response. I was speechless. Vanessa was real. She was standing right there. The man on the floor was a personal trainer named Jordan. My wife had been going here instead of the gym since it was cheaper. How could I have made such a mistake? What the did I just do? I had to excuse myself quickly as I was about to vomit. I ran outside and vomited on the lawn. Then I hear police sirens. The police and ambulance show up. I point them towards the inside of the house. They rush in with a stretcher. I couldn't think straight and had trouble standing, so I sat down outside. 5 minutes later they wheel him out on the stretcher. His body was covered in a blanket as they put him in the ambulance. Vanessa wanted to go to the hospital, but the police wanted to question her first. The police spoke to her, then to Bailey and I. Bailey said we were both at home when Vanessa called. The police then went inside to continue their investigation. Bailey said she was going to drive Vanessa to the hospital and stay with her for a while. I said okay, and they drove off in Gracie's car. I stayed for a while because I wanted to see what they were discovering. Then I saw a police officer carrying something in a clear bag and handing it to a detective. It was the cameras. In my haste that night, I completely forgot about the cameras. I grabbed the crowbar in my backpack but left the cameras in their positions. The cameras I bought were designed to record for 14 hours until the batteries died. I had the foresight of removing the serial numbers, but they surely would have caught the incident earlier. I was screwed. I overheard the police talking and they mentioned there were signs of a break-in and some muddy footprints from the window. Their current theory is that someone broke in and Jordan was killed fighting the assailant. They quarantined the area and asked me to leave for now, so I headed home. At this point it was 5 a.m. My boss was blowing up my phone, so I called back and said I had to take more time off. I went home and prepared myself for the worst. Eventually the police will come for me. They will see that I killed him. They will see that I did that heinous crime. I will be taken to jail sooner or later. I ruined my life over a misunderstanding. How could I do that? Should I turn myself in? Should I tell Bailey? My mind is racing. Bailey came home around 12 p.m. She looked paler than ever. Jordan was pronounced dead at the scene. Vanessa was in shock. Bailey called Vanessa's family and they came to the hospital to support her. They told Bailey to head home and get some rest. Bailey was speechless when she got home. She fell onto the bed next to me and continued to cry. I comforted her and told her he's in a better place now. We stayed like that for an hour until her phone started ringing. It was Vanessa. They chatted for a bit until she hung up. She slowly turned to me and looked at me and said the police contacted Vanessa. They came to the conclusion that Jordan was the victim of a premeditated homicide. They have a video of the assailant. He attacked Jordan with a crowbar. I was scared. I couldn't stop shaking. I tried to speak but had trouble getting the words out. I was able to say, "And who did it?" She said quietly, "They don't know yet." Apparently the videos they obtained from the cameras weren't great quality. They show the suspect wearing all black and waiting for Jordan in his bedroom. He then starts fighting with Jordan once he walked into the room. The lights were out in the room and the video didn't have night vision, so the only light source was coming from the hallway. When Jordan found him, Jordan pinned him down but then gets hit in the face with a crowbar. When he fell, he hit the side of the bed. He surely died on impact. I was kind of relieved. They couldn't see my face apparently. Maybe I'll be okay? Who knows? I'm still preparing for the worst though. I then asked. So what are they planning on doing? They're going to continue to investigate until they catch the suspect. I feel so bad for Vanessa. How could they do this to her? She's the sweetest girl in the world. Jordan was such a good guy. Who would plan on killing him? I'm heading over to Vanessa's house to comfort her. I'll be back later. And that's the update for now. My original plan was to kick her out after exposing her infidelity, but if it really was just a misunderstanding, then maybe she was loyal the whole time. Maybe I just started assuming things. Whatever. For now I'll pause my plan.